You know that moment when someone tells you you're worthless, and years later, you get to prove them so wrong it changes everything? Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. And trust me, you're going to want to hear how this ends. So let me take you back to where it all started. I'm Sarah, and growing up, I was that kid who always had big dreams. You know, the kind of dreams that make adults smile and pat your head like, oh, that's cute. But my mom, she didn't even give me that much. My parents divorced when I was 7. Dad moved across the country, and I ended up living with mom. And honestly, that's when my childhood pretty much ended. See, my mom worked as a regional manager for this mid-sized logistics company called Summit Solutions. Decent job, decent pay, but she acted like she was running a Fortune 500 empire. And me? I was just there, an inconvenience she had to deal with. I remember this one time in middle school. I came home so excited because I'd won second place in the school science fair. I'd worked on this project for weeks, barely slept, and I was so proud. I ran into the kitchen waving my ribbon, and you know what she said? Second place? So you lost. Not even a good job or I'm proud of you. Just disappointment. That became the pattern. Nothing I did was ever good enough. When I made the honor roll, she'd ask why I wasn't valedictorian. When I got into the school play, she'd criticize my performance. It was exhausting. But the worst part, the things she'd say to me, almost daily, I'd hear some variation of, "You're useless, Sarah. You can't do anything right." Sometimes it was in anger. Sometimes it was just casual. Like it was a fact she was reminding me of. By the time I hit high school, I'd stopped trying to impress her. What was the point? Instead, I focused on getting out. I studied like crazy, worked part-time jobs, saved every penny. My guidance counselor, Mr. Peterson, was the only adult who actually believed in me. He helped me apply for scholarships, wrote recommendation letters, encouraged me when I wanted to give up. Senior year, I got accepted to a state university 3 hours away with a partial scholarship. I was ecstatic. Finally, an escape route. When I told my mom, she was sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling through her phone, barely looking up. College? You? She laughed. Actually laughed. Sarah, you can barely manage to keep your room clean. You think you can handle college? You're going to fail, waste money, and come crawling back here. But fine. Go ahead and embarrass yourself. I moved out 2 weeks after graduation. Didn't even say goodbye properly. Just loaded my beat-up Honda and drove away. I remember looking in the rearview mirror, watching our house get smaller, and I made myself a promise. I was going to make it. I was going to succeed. Not for her approval anymore, but to prove to myself that I wasn't what she said I was. College was hard. Like, really hard. I was juggling classes, 2 part-time jobs, and trying to figure out who I was without my mom's voice constantly tearing me down. But something clicked for me in my sophomore year. I took this business course, almost by accident. It was filling a requirement, and I fell in love with it. Supply chain management, logistics, operations, it all just made sense to me. Ironic, right? My mom worked in logistics, and here I was, discovering I had a natural talent for it. I graduated with honors, a degree in business administration with a focus on supply chain management. My mom didn't come to graduation. She texted me the day before saying she had to work. I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt, but I was done expecting anything from her. After graduation, I landed an entry-level position at a supply chain consulting firm. The pay wasn't great, but the experience was incredible. I learned everything I could. I stayed late, volunteered for the difficult projects, networked like my life depended on it. And slowly, I started moving up. By 25, I was a senior consultant. By 28, I was leading my own team. And then, something crazy happened. I met Marcus Chen at an industry conference. He was a venture capitalist looking to invest in logistics and supply chain innovations. We got to talking. I pitched him some ideas I'd been developing. And 3 months later, he offered to back me in starting my own consulting firm. I almost said no. Imposter syndrome hit hard. My mom's voice was right there in my head. You're useless. You can't do anything right. But then I thought, you know what? I've come this far. I'm doing this. So at 29, I founded Apex Logistics Consulting. It was just me, one employee, my former colleague Jake, and a tiny office that was basically a closet with a window. But we worked our butts off. We took on clients other firms wouldn't touch, solved problems everyone said were impossible, and our reputation grew. Within 2 years, we had 15 employees. Within 4 years, 50. We weren't just surviving, we were thriving. Major companies were seeking us out. We were winning industry awards. I was speaking at conferences, and the whole time, I hadn't spoken to my mom once. She'd text maybe twice a year, usually around Christmas or my birthday. Generic messages like, "Hope you're well." I'd respond with, "Thanks. You too." That was it then. About 6 months ago, something interesting landed on my desk. My CFO, Lisa, came into my office with this look on her face. Half excited, half shocked. "Sarah, you need to see this opportunity." It was an acquisition deal. Summit Solutions, my mom's company, was struggling. Bad management decisions, failure to adapt to market changes, mounting debt. They were looking for a buyer. The current ownership wanted out before things got worse. I stared at that folder for a long time. Summit Solutions, the company my mom had worked at for over 25 years. The job she'd chosen over being present for me countless times. The position she'd use as an excuse to miss every important moment of my life. And now I could buy it. How much are they asking? I asked Lisa. The number was substantial but manageable for us. Apex had grown significantly. We had the capital, the investors ready to back us, and honestly, Summit Solutions would be a good strategic acquisition. It would expand our service offerings, give us a bigger client base, and the company had good bones. It just needed better leadership, but I'd be lying if I said that's the only reason I was considering it. I spent weeks doing due diligence, reviewing every aspect of the company, every department, every employee. And there she was, in the organizational charts and employee files, Linda Morrison, regional manager, 27 years with the company. My mother, her performance reviews were interesting. She was competent, met her targets, but there were notes about interpersonal challenges and management style concerns. Apparently, she wasn't great with her team either. Several complaints about her being overly critical and dismissive. Imagine that. I closed the deal last October. Apex Logistics Consulting acquired Summit Solutions. It made industry news. I did interviews, talked about our vision for the company, how we planned to turn it around. Through all of it, I wondered if my mom saw any of it. If she knew that the Sarah Morrison quoted in those articles was her daughter, she didn't reach out. Not a text, not a call, nothing. The acquisition meant I needed to visit the Summit Solutions main office, where my mom worked, to meet with department heads and start implementing changes. I scheduled it for a random Tuesday in November. I didn't tell anyone who I was in relation to any employee. As far as everyone knew, I was just a new owner coming to assess operations. I walked into that building wearing a tailored suit that cost more than my mom used to spend on my school clothes in a year, carrying a confidence I'd built entirely by myself. And I felt ready. The department head meetings went well. People were nervous, obviously, worried about layoffs and changes, but I assured them we were focused on growth, not cutting. Then came the individual manager meetings. Regional managers were scheduled throughout the day. My assistant had arranged them alphabetically by department. I knew roughly when my mom's slot would come up. Every meeting before hers, I was professional, focused, on point. But as PM approached, my heart started pounding. At 2:03 p.m., there was a knock on the temporary office door. "Come in." The door opened, and there she was. My mother. She looked older, obviously. More gray hair, deeper lines around her eyes, but still that same expression. That look of general dissatisfaction with the world. She walked in, professional smile in place, hand extended. "Miss Morrison, I'm Linda Morrison, regional manager for the..." She stopped mid-sentence. Her hand froze in the air. Her face went completely pale. "Sarah." I stood up, shook her hand firmly, and smiled. "Hello, Linda. Please, have a seat." I used her first name deliberately. In that moment, I wasn't her daughter. I was her boss. She sat down slowly, looking like she'd seen a ghost. I didn't know. The articles never had your photo. Just my name. Yes. I prefer to keep a low profile in the media. I opened the folder with her information. So, Linda, let's discuss your role here and how you see your department fitting into our new direction for the company. What happened next shocked everyone, including me a little. She tried to pull the mom card. Sarah, sweetheart, I can't believe it's you. Look at you, so successful. I always knew you'd do well. Her voice was sweet, syrupy. I looked up from the folder. Did you? Because I distinctly remember you telling me I was useless, that I couldn't do anything right, that I'd fail at college and come crawling back. Her face flushed red. I was trying to motivate you, to push you to be better, by telling your teenage daughter she was worthless. Interesting motivational technique. I kept my voice level, professional. But we're not here to discuss the past. We're here to discuss your future with this company. She shifted uncomfortably. Of course. Yes, of course. I spent the next 30 minutes reviewing her department's performance. Objectively, she was average. Not terrible, not exceptional. Under normal circumstances, she'd probably keep her job through the transition. But here's the thing about revenge. Real revenge isn't about being cruel or unfair. It's not about firing someone out of spite. That would have been too easy, too simple, and honestly, it would have made me just like her. No, real revenge is about making someone face the consequences of their actions, about showing them exactly what they lost, what they gave up, because of how they treated you. So I didn't fire her. Instead, I did something else. Linda, I'm implementing some changes. We're restructuring the regional management system. You'll be transitioning to a senior logistics coordinator role. It's a lateral move, same pay grade, but you'll be reporting to the new regional manager we're bringing in. Someone with a more collaborative management style. I watched her process this. She wasn't being fired, but she was being demoted in authority. She'd no longer be in charge. But I've been regional manager for 12 years. And in that time, you've had consistent complaints about your management approach. Multiple HR reports about how you speak to your team members, belittling them, making them feel incompetent. I slid a few reports across the desk. Sound familiar? She looked at the papers but didn't touch them. You have two options, I continued. Accept the new role and learn to be a better colleague, or we can discuss a severance package. The room was silent for a long moment. Then she said, quietly, "You're doing this because you hate me." I leaned back in my chair. No, Linda, I'm doing this because I'm running a company, and I make decisions based on what's best for that company and its employees. Your management style is damaging to team morale and productivity. That's a fact documented repeatedly. What I feel about you personally is irrelevant. That wasn't entirely true, of course. But it wasn't entirely false either. She took the coordinator position. What choice did she have? But here's where it gets even better. About a month after that meeting, we had our company-wide town hall. All Summit Solutions employees introduced to the full Apex Logistics leadership team. I gave a speech about our vision, our values, how we treat people with respect and invest in their growth. Afterward, several employees came up to talk to me, thank me for the changes, tell me they were excited about the new direction. And my mom had to watch all of it, had to watch her daughter, the one she said was useless, being respected and admired by hundreds of people, including her own colleagues. One of her former team members, a young guy named Ryan, approached me. "Miss Morrison, I just wanted to say thank you. The culture changes you're implementing, the focus on respectful leadership, it means a lot. Some of us have worked under really difficult managers, and it's refreshing to see someone at the top who actually cares about that." I saw my mom standing 20 feet away. She heard every word, and the look on her face. It wasn't anger exactly. It was something else. Recognition, maybe, or regret, or maybe just a realization that the daughter she'd dismissed had become someone significant without her help. Despite her, actually, a few weeks ago, she texted me. Not the usual generic holiday message. Actually texted me. "Can we talk? Really talk?" I didn't respond immediately. I sat with it for a couple days. Part of me wanted to ignore it entirely. Part of me was curious. And part of me, the part that was still that little girl desperate for her mom's approval, wanted to hear what she had to say. I finally replied, "Coffee, Saturday. I am. The cafe on Morrison Street. Ironic location. I know." She was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table, looking nervous. I got my coffee and sat down. "Thank you for meeting me," she started. I nodded. Didn't say anything. Let her lead, Sarah. She paused, struggled with the words. "I've spent the last few months thinking about everything. About how I treated you, what I said, how I made you feel. And working under the new structure, seeing how the new managers treat their teams with encouragement and support, it made me realize." She stopped, eyes getting watery. "I was awful to you. I was a terrible mother, and I don't have a good excuse. I was angry about the divorce, frustrated with my life, and I took it out on you. The one person who deserved it least. You were just a kid, trying your best, and I made you feel worthless." I sipped my coffee. Let her continue. "When I saw you in that office, when I realized what you'd become, who you'd become, all without me, without my support, I was shocked. Yes, but more than that, I was ashamed. You proved me wrong about everything. And you did it by being everything I wasn't. Kind, fair, supportive of others." A tear rolled down her cheek. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I deserve the chance to try to make things right. But I needed you to know that I see now how wrong I was. About you. About everything." I set down my coffee cup. "You were wrong. About me being useless. About me not being able to do anything right. About me failing. You were completely wrong." "I know. But here's what's interesting, Mom. In a weird, messed up way, you pushed me to become this person. Not because your methods were good. They weren't. But because I was so determined to prove you wrong that I worked twice as hard as I might have otherwise. Every time I wanted to quit, I heard your voice saying I couldn't do it. And that made me push through." She looked at me confused, hope flickering in her eyes. "That doesn't mean what you did was okay," I continued. "It wasn't. You hurt me deeply. And those scars don't just disappear. But I've built a good life. A life I'm proud of. And I did it without your approval, which means I don't need it now. So, where does that leave us?" she asked quietly. I thought about it for a moment. "Honestly, I don't know yet. Maybe nowhere. Maybe somewhere eventually. But it has to be real. No more fake smiles. No more dismissive comments disguised as jokes. No more competition or comparisons. If you want any kind of relationship with me, it has to be built on actual respect and honesty." She nodded. "I understand. And Sarah, for what it's worth, I'm incredibly proud of you. I know I have no right to be, given everything. But I am." I stood up to leave, then paused. "You know what's funny? I bought your company not really knowing what I'd do when I saw you. Part of me wanted to fire you dramatically, make you feel as small as you made me feel. But then I realized that would make me just like you. And I've worked too hard to become a better person than that." I left her sitting there. "I don't know if we'll ever have a real mother-daughter relationship. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. But here's what I do know. I don't need her validation anymore. I don't need her approval. I've proven to myself that I'm not useless, that I can do anything I set my mind to. And that company she worked for her entire adult life, it's thriving now under my leadership. We've increased revenue by 37% in just 8 months. Employee satisfaction is up. We've been recognized as one of the best logistics companies in the region. Sometimes I walk through the Summit Solutions office, and I see my mom at her coordinator desk. She looks up, we make eye contact, and there's this moment of understanding between us. She knows what she lost. She knows who I became, and she has to live with that every single day. That's my revenge. Not cruelty, not destruction, just success. Undeniable, visible, constant success. Living well, treating people with the respect she never gave me, and building something meaningful. And honestly, it feels better than any dramatic confrontation ever could have. So here's what I want you to take away from this. If someone in your life tells you you're not good enough, that you can't achieve your dreams, that you're useless, prove them wrong. Not for them, for you. Build your life. Chase your goals. Become the person you want to be. And if you end up successful beyond their wildest dreams, that's just a bonus. Your worth isn't determined by people who can't see your value. Your potential isn't limited by people who lack imagination. You are capable of incredible things, even if, especially if, the people who should support you don't. I bought my mom's company, but more importantly, I built my own life. And that's the real victory. So if you enjoyed this story, if it resonated with you, or if you've got your own revenge success story, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Hit that like button if you believe in proving the doubters wrong. And subscribe because I've got more stories about turning pain into power, setbacks into comebacks, and doubters into witnesses of your success. Remember, the best revenge isn't getting even. It's becoming so successful, so happy, so fulfilled that what they said about you becomes laughably irrelevant. Now go out there and prove someone wrong. You've got this.